Welcome to the 31st episode of Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. So I said that I did the Meg on Friday, and today is now Monday, and we're gonna do Black Klansman today, and then we're gonna see what we're gonna do for the rest of the week. I think ad-libbing is an important part of life. The ability to see situations change and adapt to them accordingly is very important, which is why things have changed. Scheduling conflicts have arisen over the last few days, preventing me from going to see any of the new theatrical releases this week. So we're going to talk about something coming out on DVD, which I know we usually reserve for 30-minute reviews, but this week has a major release. The number 4 all-time box office championship, grossing over $2 billion this year. And that movie is Avengers Infinity War. Now, when this movie came out theatrically back in May and late April, we were not back from hiatus, so there was no episode about that. So we're still going to talk about it later this week on 30-minute reviews when we return on Thursday with that. But today we're going to do this. So let's see. What are we going to talk about with this movie? Considering it grossed $2 billion, I'm assuming that you probably have already seen it. Especially if you listen to this podcast. I think the subset of people who listen to this podcast and people who are not inherently going to go see the third Avengers movie is very small. But for those of you who are looking for an opinion on whether or not you should buy the movie on DVD, is it worth it? First of all, yes. Let me start with that. I am a big opponent of digital media. I don't like buying movies digitally because of the fact that it's all licensing, and when you buy a digital movie, you buy a license for it. So therein lies my big problem with digital media. Now, that said, as soon as Infinity War went digital, available on Amazon, I bought it immediately. Because the movie was that good, I wanted to watch it again, and I wanted to watch it at home and see if it held up, or if it was just the seeing it in theaters that made me like it so much. And let me tell you, because that's the thing I've talked about before, there is the movie theater effect, which can artificially change the way you view a movie, between whether or not it's because it's on a big screen and higher quality than you have at home. That'll boost your opinion of it. If it's the wow factor of we never thought we would get to this point, where it's like if you told me 10 years ago when Iron Man came out that there would be a full Avengers team up with the Guardians of the Galaxy to fight Thanos, who then kills half the universe, I would have said that's never going to happen. Because I wouldn't have believed you. And here we are 10 years later. 10 years and 20 movies later. And we have this. And I think that alone is remarkable. But on top of all that, the movie still holds up. And I think one of the things that a lot of people... I've been trying to avoid watching reviews of things, but from what I have seen in reviews, I don't think enough people have brought up the fact that what this movie really has going for it, more so than either of the previous Avengers movies, is that if you watch it, it plays like a comic book, where every character has a little bit of their own little side. Like, there's the Avengers cast, where there's Doctor Strange, there's Spider-Man, there's Iron Man, all of these characters who are major characters in here. But then there's also their little side characters, where when you're in their solo movies, they have their side characters who are their auxiliary cast. And where the previous Avengers movies really missed was that they made it more about the Avengers and less about the whole world. The entire supporting, like, not the entire supporting cast, but each character has their own little supporting cast member who's there with them. Be it Thor having Heimdall and Loki, and then you have the Guardians with the Collector, and you have Ned Leeds makes a small appearance. Pepper makes an appearance. But like it's about everyone. Everyone has something to put in and to help in this, and not help, but like help the story progress. Everyone has a point here. Um, and yeah, so and then when the characters are introduced, they feel organically introduced into the plot. It's not shoehorned or they're not there for no reason. Everyone feels like they have a reason to be there and a place in the story where it makes sense. So not only did we get this visual spectacular 10 years in the making, but it was good too. And it was a movie that, on paper, with the amount of characters that needs to be moved around just in the principal cast, between the Avengers, the original 6 Avengers, plus the new Avengers, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Spider-Man, Scarlet Witch, Vision, who else? War Machine. Well, we'll count War Machine as one of the original 6 instead of Hawkeye, who's not in the movie. But then you have all of those, plus the Guardians, plus Thanos and the Black Order. There's so many things going on that you have. It's remarkable that this movie works as well as it does. So if you haven't bought this movie already, digitally, and this is going up tonight on Monday, so tomorrow, absolutely go out and buy this movie. Because when you buy something, and I'm not saying streaming is bad. Streaming is fine. Just make sure you're paying for what you're streaming. Because when you pirate something, then you're not showing the people who made the movie that you like what they did. Because social media buzz is nice, but I know they already made a lot of money, and I know to say piracy's not a victimless crime is ridiculous. But the thing is, if you need an argument to prevent piracy, I think it's the fact that when you don't pay for something, you're not voting with your wallet, and the people who make the movie don't see it then. Don't see that you liked it. So if you go out and buy this tomorrow, you're going to show them that this is what you want. Because conversely, when that doesn't happen, then you get Justice League, where they made a shitty movie, and then you get a shitty result. So we'll wrap up there with Infinity War, because I feel like everyone's already seen that movie at this point, but the movie is fantastic, and it does hold up on home video purchase, so absolutely buy that. And I want to talk a little bit about Star Wars, following Solo's little failure. And I think one of the things that wasn't quite articulated is what my biggest problem was with The Last Jedi is that I think the biggest problem was the Star Wars movies have always had what I call inferred character progression between the movies, where each character and their relationship to each other progresses between the movies, and then when you pick up the next time, because of the opening crawl, there's an indication of a time frame that has passed. So you see that things have changed, and you can see that the characters have developed in some way. And then when they come into the next movie, you don't feel like you're in the same place. Now, what the problem with the the problem with The Last Jedi is that they do that without actually passing time. And my other problem with The Last Jedi that probably would have fixed the movie a little bit is they should have. It felt more like 7 Part 2 than it did Episode 8, because of the fact that it picks up right where the previous one left off. And by the end of it, you now have the entire cast where they should be to move forward with the trilogy. From there, it's not quite cohesive, for lack of a better word. Where it's like you now only have, if you look at it like you have 6. So 2.5 times 3 would be 7.5 hours. You have 7.5 hours to tell a story. You are now 5 hours into it, and you are just now everyone's set to move into where they should have been at the end of the first act. And if you look at it like that, where it's like it's 3 acts, each episode's an act, then by the end of the first one, everyone should be ready to move into the next section and ready to go, and it gives you plenty of time to develop everything and keep them going. That's how you end up with Empire, which is the best movie out of all of them. And then you have, because you have all the stuff set up in the first one, and the second one can be relatively low key the entire movie, where through the entire time the movie's going on, it's a very slow paced movie compared to the rest. Where it's like, even if you don't look at Rogue One creating a greater sense of urgency in A New Hope, this movie pushes like, there's a lot going on in the beginning. Then the middle, all the way up to the third act, is very slow. It's a training montage for a good amount of the movie for Luke on Dagobah, and then you also have the Falcon kind of literally drifting through space about 20 feet away from where they escaped, because they can't move anywhere, so they're just kind of stuck in space. So they're kind of just stuck there. So you get character moments in these movies now, rather than just straight action. So now, the first part of the trilogy sets up, we have our big bad for the entire trilogy. We have General Supreme Leader Snoke. Then we have his underling, the Darth Vader, to his Emperor. We have Kylo Ren. Then we have this idea that there are others like Kylo Ren through the Knights of Ren, which is name dropped in the movie but never again referenced. And then we have so there's good seeds, and if we go from there with that, that's fine. Now, if in the first movie you had Kylo Ren kill Snoke and then take control, he's the new Supreme Leader, that would have been fine. And I think a lot of the problem with people having that Snoke was killed off that fast is because he was built up too much as being the Emperor of the new trilogy without the payoff. And then he gets killed in the second movie. So it's like, why did we bother spending all this time setting him up to be this thing we got to deal with when he's not going to be it going forward? So there was that problem with it. Then you have the main three cast members of this movie, of the new movies, are going to be the newcomers. You have Rey, you have Finn, and you have Oscar Isaac's character, Poe. So those three are the core three of the new movies. And then they add Rose in this one. So really there are four. Then you have Chewbacca, who's still there, so five. And these five characters don't all meet until the end of the second movie, when they're built to be, these are the ones that are going to be working together. And these are the ones who are going to be, these are the ones who are going to have the chemistry together. They're going to be working. They're going to be trying to save the galaxy together. But they never meet until the end of the second movie. Which, again, if this was just 7 part 1, it would have part 2, it would have solved that problem, because now you have another 2 movies after it to continue it. So therein lies our next problem with this, is that and then the last thing I wanted to address was the fact that it takes out place right where the other one left off, which I think was a bad decision, because it doesn't give you that chance to be able to explain away as 2 years passed, 5 years passed, 15 years passed, 10 years passed, as there was in previous movies. You can't explain away what took so, like, why is this happening now? It's like if they said that Return of the Jedi took place immediately after Empire Strikes Back, then you would have the issue of, like, okay, so nothing happened. Like, they go right there. It would have felt weird. But those movies work as a sequel to the previous movie because you have a time skip between them. And that's the other problem with this, is that I think Star Wars is unique in that it's the only franchise where you can put as much of a time skip as you want, and the only time it feel weird is if there's no time skip. Which this movie doesn't quite... this movie has no skip, where it goes right from... the end of Force Awakens right to the next one. And this movie does try to emulate that sense of them drifting through space with that they had in Empire, but it doesn't quite work as well. So hopefully, I never thought I would say this, I hope that with J.J. Abrams back in the helm, I hope that they can try and get this back together going into Episode 9, but I don't think it's likely. I feel like this could go down as a worse trilogy than the original 3. Not the original 3, the prequels. Because the prequels, at a minimum, it felt like it met the storytelling conventions of the previous Star Wars movies, and I didn't feel like they were going off the reservation, for lack of a better word. Um, so I feel like that'd be uh, a better way to do it. Would have been to have just honored what we knew worked, instead of saying we're going to throw everything out and start again. And too much of this movie, which could have been spent developing other things, is spent developing things no one really cares about. Like the I feel like there's a way that 7 and 8 could have been edited into one movie, and it would have been fine. It'd be one, maybe 3-hour movie, but you don't need to have it be as long as you don't need to have 5 hours devoted to getting us back to square one for to get us into place to get into an actual trilogy. So with that said, hopefully episode 9 picks it up. If you haven't already, get Infinity War tomorrow when it comes out. Absolutely, it's absolutely gonna be worth the money to buy it on at least DVD, if not Blu-ray. So with that said, we'll be back on Wednesday with another new episode with an actual theatrical release on Wednesday. I don't know which movie yet, but we'll be back Wednesday. So have a good rest of the day.